I'm Lily. I was born and raised here in Benton County, and I've been in recovery going on 9 years. Well, I sew, I sing, I woolwork, if you know what that is. Just anything you do with crafting, really. My dad wanted a boy, so I know a bunch of miscellaneous carpentry skills. I'm like the handyman around my house, and I really enjoy that kind of thing. So my first experience was actually with alcohol, and my sister had told me about her high school stash with her friends, and I went out in the woods looking for her alcohol stash, and I drank a wine cooler, and I got in the car, in her car, I didn't have a driver's license, and just blazed it around the driveway. I felt tipsy and had this sudden urge to drive, and I was like, that can't be normal. That cannot be a good reaction to that, and I don't think that other people would be reacting this way. So I didn't know what was wrong at that point, but I knew that something was not quite right about that. The most difficult moments during my active use were anything to do with my kids. I missed my son's first steps because I was in treatment. And the whole idea that I wasn't allowed to be around my kids was just the most humiliating, shameful thing. And always, throughout my life, my dad is like the cornerstone of my existence. I love my dad, and all of the good parts of me I credit to him. So, having to tell him who I was and what I'd become was probably the most difficult thing that I had to do. Could I just only do drugs on the weekend and only see certain people at certain times? Could I still live in the same house? So it wasn't anything monumental, but it was monumental to me in that way, where I thought that initially I might not have to change, and then a day later I was saying, you have to go hard, you have to do it completely, you have to give it up. I came to treatment, and I just breathed this sigh of relief when I came in the door. Kind of said, I'm going to die if something doesn't happen for me. I didn't know what that was, but just the fact that they knew what I needed to do, and then they knew that I was taking this first step that I didn't know that I needed to take. The professionals there, and then a friend that I met there, they immediately started talking to me about addiction, and I'd never accepted it or looked at it in a way that even had the beginnings of admitting it, acknowledging that it was a disease. So I felt like I was being treated for a disease for the first time, and for some reason that was really welcoming to me, because I had otherwise thought that I was just kind of a piece of crap. It still is hard to ask for help, I think. It was always hard to ask for help, and in the beginning it was hard to ask for help because I didn't know what kind of help I needed and that I should ask for. Now it's hard to ask for help with kind of like menial things and little tasks, because when you're perceived to like have it together or know what you're doing, it's kind of hard to be like, as part of my recovery, like, I need to do these things and I need your help. most helpful thing to me is the fact that you need to continue to identify other things that are what has become your drug in your life. And I know that sounds strange, but like in the absence of substances, you find things to replace it, and you have to be really honest with yourself. And I learned that from the very beginning. What are you replacing your drugs with that are taking your focus off of your recovery? What emotional things are you pulling into your life that you're dependent on that prevent you from growing and changing and continuing down your path of recovery? So I learned that early, and it's been the most impactful, and let's say it's had the most longevity of any of those cliche slogans that I heard or learned. My favorite part of recovery, I know this sounds weird, but I was like cripplingly shy and couldn't speak to people, and I still kind of have a hard time with that. But when I was forced to be honest about the things that I'd done in my life, I lost that fear. I lost the fear of people and the fear of consequences from people, whatever I thought those were going to be. I was free. My relationships when I was using were always this cycle of blame and why don't you help me, and my life is just this downtrodden mess, and I'm a victim of the man, and just that whole victimhood and that perpetual child thing. It was like the overarching feature in everything that I did in my life. And now, in the absence of that, I get to be a parent, and I get to be an actual daughter and a grown daughter, not the perpetual child. And when spending so much of your time as a victim, it's so neat to be able to redefine all your relationships to where your role in them is not where you're dependent on somebody, and you find that you have actual things to contribute to the relationships that you have. I love people in recovery. I love people that aren't in recovery, and I know what it's like to want to be part of a community, and I know what it's like to do things that are contradictory to who you are as a person. And that might be the thing that people don't talk about with substances, is I think there's a polarization of people, and they have their conscience speaking to them, and the voice is what a normal, moral person would say to themselves. But they've lost that objectivity to be that, and so what they're doing is contradictory to who they are as people. And I want everybody to get a chance to show people in their life that they are not the person that they became when they were using substances, that it is a treatable disease. And it doesn't matter how people get into recovery. If you get time to separate yourself from substances, all bets are off. All the things that you were are changed just because of the absence of substances in your body. And so there's no one really that can't recover. There's no one that it is like an exception to the rule if people have the capability to be honest with themselves and to put themselves in a position to stop using substances. Then they have the power to be in recovery and to change. Tell the truth. Tell the truth in your boundaries teach people how to treat you. People that are dealing with stigma, be bold. The most important thing that you can do to reduce the stigma in your own life and the way that people treat you is to be honest. Be honest about being imperfect. Be honest in humbly taking credit for the good things that you do. Be candid. And just be bold. To tell people about the language that they should use. To be brave enough to come forward and say, hey, I know you don't think that this particular behavior stigmatizes people in recovery, but this is my perception of what happens when people do this. And I would encourage everybody to learn that skill and learn how to do that without personalizing it so much. It's to just be willing to teach other people how to treat you and to teach other people how to treat people in recovery and people that are still struggling. If people are still actively using, they don't love it. They don't love to wake up and search for a substance that's going to make them feel normal. And at the end of the road, those people are desperately searching for a way out of that. People that stigmatize others might perceive that these people are just doing something recreational or pursuing something that's fun or pursuing something to get them high, and that's not the reality. It's miserable. It's a desperate life. It's all of the things that you want to work toward. There's really fleeting moments that you even get to think about anything other than instant gratification, and it's really fundamental that instant gratification is what you have to gear your life towards. So you never get to have goals. You never get to celebrate reaching those because you don't reach them. So I'd say the golden rule would apply, and just love your neighbor as yourself, and think about your small failures. Imagine your small failures never even having the possibility to be a success, because you know that you don't get to have goals and you are controlled by a substance.